Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chino y Chicano. I'm Enrique Serna. I've been debating whether to say anything about the election of Donald Trump on this podcast. Didn't know if anything that I would say really would matter much, but I got to thinking about it, and I guess maybe I felt like I needed to say something, especially tonight. Earlier today, I spent some time at the University of Washington in a political science class. A friend of mine and Kathy Allen, who's been a longtime Democratic consultant, invited me to come to speak to the class. And Kathy has been struggling a lot with the election of Trump. And I think more than anything else, the fact that Kamala Harris was rejected and making her wonder, are we ever going to elect a woman to be president of the United States, which makes me wonder as well. During the time with the students, they were sophomore, junior level from all around the state of Washington, even some from international backgrounds in Asia, and one young man that was from France that weighed in with some real thoughtful points about the election of Donald Trump, and particularly as it pertains to Europe and France and Ukraine. So I really appreciated that he was willing to speak up. I shared what were my concerns about Trump's election, which I think a lot of us that have been feeling grim about the fact that he has been elected again still feel, and that has the fact that he comes in with chaos, and we're not quite sure what to expect. The thing about 2016 when he was elected, it was such a big surprise, and I think everybody was just stunned by all of that, because I think most people thought, well, no, he's not going to get elected. He's too extreme. He's too out there. He's too weird. Well, I guess he made weirdness and extreme a thing and made it in vogue through the time that he has been involved in politics since 2016. He's made politics ugly. He's made bullying a thing. He's made name calling a thing. He's been speaking down to people. And also those that don't have a lot of education, let's face it, he's managed to connect with them. And they're the ones that really turned out and made this election possible for him to return to the presidency. I'm not saying everybody is out there that doesn't have an education or anything like that, but let's face it, he did appeal to those that don't have a great education. And so now we wonder what's going to happen. I think the thing, as I was speaking to the class tonight, that struck me was that in 2016, as I said before, we really didn't know what was going to happen. As we know now, there was a lot of chaos. And of course, it got even worse once the pandemic hit, and there was even more chaos. So I think a lot of people, they tended to forget about that in this election. And I think a lot of people point to how the economy was great during that time. I think not realizing that he had inherited an economy from Obama that had come out of a recession and that was running well again. And then he added a tax cut for the rich on top of that, and made all of those folks happy, as well as making changes in the high court and other courts throughout the land. But now we are in 2024, and he's got a playbook that he said he had no knowledge of, and that's Project 2025. And it's a whole different ballgame, because personally, I don't think that Trump is smart enough to do policy and all those things. But there's obviously those people that believe in what he has been espousing. He's just the front man. They're behind the scenes, and they're ready now with Project 2025 to implement this playbook that could be a huge disruptor for America. And so we'll see how that's going to play out, because it's going to have such an impact on our democracy, our Constitution, so many things that are in place. We'll see what that battle's going to be like over all of that stuff. And that's what I think is really different about this time around. And for Trump, he just, let's face it, he's got nothing to lose now. He got his get out of jail card. And that's really what his decision to run for re-election again, I think, or for election again, was all about, keeping himself out of jail. So at this point, that's going to happen, and unfortunately. But now we're left with, okay, now we have this philosophy or uh, this plan that they have in place to take over the federal government, put people in place that are going to be loyal to Donald Trump and Trumpism. Uh, it's going to, I don't think we have any idea, really, just how disruptive all of this is going to be. And I think we've seen these clashes and our divisions and all of that. They're just going to get that much deeper. Now, the one thing that I'm kind of glad about is that I live here in the state of Washington. And we live in a blue state that only became bluer, so that's a good thing. But we're going to have challenges, no doubt about it. I mean, let's face it, we're a blue state. We oppose Donald Trump. Our now governor-elect sued him, I don't know how many times when he was attorney general, and won numerous times as well. But we have our own problems in the state and the federal government, and we're no doubt going to be facing clashes and cuts from them as well. So it's not going to be easy, but we do have a state, I think, where there's some sanity here. And so hopefully that will continue. And I guess what we're really going to see is how this is going to play out as we get to the midterm elections in 2026. And that will be an interesting time. I think a lot of people like me we're tired. And people are tired of all the ugliness of the political campaign. And the ugliness has just been overwhelming, and for so long. When you have a presidential candidate that is, making fun of people and calling immigrants garbage and just all of these things. After a while, it's just overwhelming to deal with. I'm, for now, glad that's over. I guess we'll have a little bit of a respite. I don't expect it to completely go away. I really want to see somehow we got to turn the page on some things here, but I think it's going to be tough. When I spoke to the young people today, one of the things I did tell them is that, I can't tell you what's ahead here. I don't know. I'm 71. I'm at a whole different point in my life. But what has happened and what is going to happen, it's going to affect you. Now, you need to make a decision about, do you want to be part of the effort to stop things that you think aren't right for America and our democracy and for what is good in America? Or are you just going to, lay back and not do anything? That's something that they have to think about. And I hope they do think about it, because you got to make a choice these days. And I just think of the words of John Lewis, and when he encouraged us that, times are tough. You take time to grieve. You take time to deal with those hits that you've had along the way. And then you think about, okay, how you're going to rally and make some good trouble for the sake of the country, the sake of your family, for the future. And I think that's what we need to do now. I just hope that somehow, some way, we can find some time down the road here where we can find a way to bridge our divisions. I don't see it happening right away. I think it's going to be tough. I also see things on the international level, as the young man from France talked about. That's really scary, because I think Vladimir Putin is quite happy right now because his candidate, Donald Trump, won. And what's that going to mean for Ukraine? And the thing about it is do we really understand that if Ukraine falls, what that's going to mean for Europe? Because that's sort of the barrier to keeping the Russians from advancing anywhere else in Europe. And if they fall, how will the rest of Europe respond? How will we respond? Are we going to sacrifice the Ukrainians? I hope not. I hope not. So got a lot to think about. We have a lot to deal with right now. Take some time, catch your breath. Yeah, if you're going to grieve, grieve. If you got to cry, cry. And then let's just pick ourselves back up and let's get back out there to care about people and create some good trouble. And let's talk about how we can help each other in many ways. I'm really thinking about doing a podcast that really kind of focuses on good things that people are doing in our world today, in our community, and those random acts of kindness that they really do happen. And maybe that's something that I'm going to lean into, because I really need something that's just nourishing and that will help me feel positive as well. So that's really all I have to say. I guess I did my own version of the weave, but I just felt like I needed to just express myself. And for everybody out there that you're wondering what's ahead, just let's just hang in there and take a deep breath and keep on going.
The Chino y Chicano podcast is available on your favorite podcast provider.
You can watch the video version on YouTube and Converge Media, a leading producer of culturally relevant content in the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk more later.